This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing in from Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. Joel Seedman and my friend from New York City, Sal LoDuca, and we're going to talk about advanced human performance. I don't know if you've ever heard those three words before, but advanced human performance is what it says it is. So, Sal, take it away and give us a genesis of how this company started.
So this company was born from an initial inquisition on my part as to how I'm going to expand the nervous system of athletes. And two of the ways that I early sought out was doing things in a random way versus a repetitious way. And number two is contralateral training. So if you're in a sport that's you use predominantly your right side, I would say practice on your left. And they would say, well, why am I going to do that? I'm not going to be an ambidextrous player. Well, I don't want you to be an ambidextrous player. I want to open up the other side of your brain. So athletes really understood the randomization process, but very difficult for them to work their non-dominant side. And so as I was researching the scientific literature, I stumbled onto offset loading. And I'm like, wow, this is an interesting topic. I said, and as I researched it more, I saw that it was really, nobody ever heard of it, or it's not utilized. There was no science on it. And the only one that people were referring to was Dr. Joe. Now, I finally realized he's been practicing offset loading on many of his clients, athletes, and all, from all different range for over the past decade. He may actually be the father of offset loading, but
Joel, are you the father of offset loading?
Oh, man, I don't know if I like to call myself the father of anything, but no, I think I probably helped to popularize it a little bit. You know, for me, I work with a lot of I work with 50% of my clients are general populations, even some special populations. Then the other half is pro athletes. So understanding that what they're doing is a business, like being a professional athlete, whether you like it or not, it's all a business. The NFL right now, it's very much handled like a business, and how much can the athletes make, how much can the owners make, and then they come to an arrangement. And, you know, some of the other logistics, it gets thrown to the wayside. So the better the athletes can perform, the healthier they are, the more money they can make, the more money that the you know, all the owners can make. And so I had to kind of come up with methods and avenues early on, not just to fix my own body, which is kind of a whole other story, but methods that I knew, hey, how do we bulletproof these athletes as quickly as possible? How do we get as much out of them as possible, particularly if we only have them for a few hours out of the week, you know, 8 to 10 weeks out of the year, because the way they go back and forth with the off season. Offset training was very beneficial, not only for exposing some of their imbalances, but fixing and addressing them and just helping their joints feel better, giving them more strength and more power.
So you guys connected and formed a business based on this common interest?
Yeah, well, about 5 years ago, I asked Dr. Joe, when I initially contacted Dr. Joe, I said, you know, you've listed all these benefits, these neurological and physiological benefits of offset loading. I'm like, where are you getting this information from? I was like, do you know any science? And he's like, no, not really. If you know of any, let me know. It's based on my experience and knowledge over the years. And so I did an initial study down in Tampa, Florida, with the ASPI Institute. And we did a study on offset loading on the bench press, and which was published. And we found that we increased strength by 36% and muscle size hypertrophy by 44% more. And so while we were doing that study, I said, you know what? How are we going to now commercialize this concept? And so I started patenting machines that would have independent electromagnetic resistance motors, so to speak. So now, with the use of artificial intelligence and metrics that we can measure your asymmetry, it would automatically produce a program for you, but it would adjust the weight. So it may have, you know, one side a little bit more, one side a little bit less, until we've achieved some symmetry. Then we can go back to same weight loading and progressive loading, because now your body is more prepared and more fit. And so I already have patents that were approved here in the US, in Canada, 30 countries in Europe, Japan, and Australia.
And this is for the strength
and conditioning machines, correct. So
Gotcha.
we would be able to do what every other piece of equipment out there in a gym can do, but now we're able to introduce offset loading into that mix, so to speak. And with the advent of AI, now we can completely go from a musculoskeletal to a neuromotor focus, and number two, from a repetition focus to a fully randomized one. So you will never do the same exercise twice.
And then do you have these machines commercialized already?
No, actually, we just recently did a feasibility study with Mohammed Iqbal of Sweatworks, which I think you may
be
familiar with him.
Yep.
He completed a feasibility study for us. So I knew that the technology was there. I just needed someone to help me start putting it together. And we are now seeking to raise money in order to develop the prototypes, which we believe now with offset loading, we have so many verticals that we can now attack. We can attack the general fitness. We can attack athletes. We can attack neuromotor conditions like early stage Parkinson's or MS. We can attack military training, and we can attack, other potential cognitive diseases as well.
So, doctor, what are you doing right now before this machine is manufactured and commercialized? Is there you using dumbbells or free weights?
So that's a good question. This actually ties into the kind of the problem behind offset training and what we're trying to solve with this equipment. I've been using offset training for well over a decade now, and just using basically free weights, barbells, dumbbells, cables, like you said. Very effective, but unless you're one-on-one with an athlete or client and you really know what you're doing with this, I've done so much experimenting with this, a lot of tweaking and modifying these protocols. And you have this research coming out now showing how effective offset training is. Surprisingly, it's rarely implemented in any type of setting, whether it's the strength conditioning setting, whether it's the private setting, whether that's in rehab centers, because most therapists, most trainers, most athletic trainers, they don't know or feel comfortable how to implement offset loading, because done correctly, very effective tool. Not knowing what you're doing, it can go haywire pretty quickly. This is where the machinery, the AI, the electromagnetic weights that you can adjust with micro adjustments rather than like, hey, we're going to go up 5 or 10 pounds. Well, going up 5 or 10 pounds, based on the athlete, where their imbalances are, that's enough to break the person right there, where it's exercise that might injure them. So with the equipment that we're trying to do here, it's gonna help alleviate that issue pretty quickly, because now it becomes safer, it becomes more efficient for everyone to use. You don't have to be held by the hand with a trainer at your side.
What's interesting about offset loading is also, and we just completed a study at the University of Houston, because what I was interested in is from traditional same weight loading to offset loading, I was interested in what's going on within the brain. And so we just completed a study on the chest press, and we did a same weight and we did an offset loading group. And we had all the subjects wear EEG caps. And so what we found was that in the traditional loading group, there was no change from a neurological level. With the offset loading group, however, we found statistical significance that there was increased connectivity between the sensory, motor, and cognitive areas of the brain. So, offset loading does a lot that traditional loading does not, because you have to now exert cognitive, you have to exert more cognitive, you have to exert that thinking process. There's more cognitive effort involved. And so anything that you do that involves cognitive effort, we know now that expands the nervous system. So, when you're doing stuff on a repetitious basis where you're not thinking about it, it becomes, very mundane
But even with that, you even show that a lot of these neurological conditions, they still improve substantially with traditional training. So imagine if you add in the offset component where, the sensory motor integration is exponentially increased. Their cognitive effort, like Sal said, is exponentially increased. The amount of effort they have to use with their mind to attend information. So now it's like, but you can't go into, say, a Parkinson's setting and just do offset training with a barbell. That would be disastrous and it would be unsafe. So it has to be a method. It has to be the equipment in place that acts as safeties, and you can streamline it.
Doctor, question related to offset loading. Is this like 20 minutes out of like a 90-minute lift? Is this like exclusively you do offset loading, or how does it fit into like a weekly or daily workout?
Yeah, you can do both, and we've done both. Sometimes we'll take one or two exercises for a workout, and then the rest of it we'll just do traditional. What we'll notice with that is when they do the offset exercises first, they're more locked in and they're actually stronger. Their technique's better on all the other traditional exercises. And that actually goes hand in hand with that potentiation protocol that they found in the new study, Sal. I don't know if you want to go into that. And then the other one, sometimes we'll just do an entire workout that's offset loading, and then we'll notice that when they come back for their next workout several days later, they feel incredibly locked in. Their joints feel amazing. They feel stronger. It's more effortless for them to get their technique dialed in on all of their sets. They feel better on the field. So there's multiple ways to use it.
Peter, just want to mention also that Dr. Joe works with professional level NFL guys, MLB guys, and so collegiate football players. I mean, he's dealing with all the top-notch guys who he utilizes offset loading on regularly. So we're not just talking about particular clients. We're talking about high level.
Yeah, he's the father of offset loading. Okay,
He
I
is
get
the
it.
father.
You don't have to like talk him up anymore, Sal. I get it. It's cool, man. I get it. He's a doctor, father doctor.
Actually, Dr. Joe is so humble. He's an amazing human. But in any event,
anyway, I wanted to ask a question related to the elite athletes. Are there certain positions in certain sports where you see offset loading as like, wow, this is like the game changer, like a pitcher or a quarterback or a kick or a punch? Is there certain techniques or position players that may benefit from this exponentially?
Well,
just thinking out loud.
You kind of have two avenues you can look at. One is like the direct kind of obvious biomotor capabilities that are involved, like a running back or an offensive lineman. They're dealing with pushing and blocking, and all those forces coming in are asymmetrical. Rarely is an athlete, particularly of that nature, going to end up encountering symmetrical force vectors.
Sure,
they're not.
Sure.
So the direct application there is pretty big, especially for impact sports. Same thing you could say with military. Same thing with combat sports. Now, the other element of offset training is that it enhances motor control and stability. Okay, part of that is because of the increased proprioceptive feedback that happens. And proprioception, all that means is increased sense of feel. And one of the things that offset training does is it increases sense of feel, or increases your ability to attend to that information, so you can fine tune your own motor programs more precisely. And for a pitcher or a thrower, understanding how to position their shoulders and having better sense of feel and sensory motor integration of those muscles around their shoulder joint, that is absolutely pivotal, not just for precision in their sport, but also for injury prevention. So it's kind of equal.
Yeah, when I was in 7th grade, my basketball coach said, eat everything with your left hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Open doors with your left hand. And like I was able to hit lefty layups,
Hey, maybe he was the father of offset loading.
Yeah. Offset fork and knife is what it was from my mom's lasagna, I think.
The beauty about offset loading is it does many things all at once. Number one, it exposes the asymmetry. And number two, it simultaneously corrects it. And number three, it also, as it's correcting the asymmetry, that prevents the injury. So
Sure.
You may say, well, you know, baseball pitchers or hitters or football quarterbacks, there is some level of asymmetry that they're always going to have based upon the type of they're utilizing the dominant side more frequently. So the issue always becomes when you have too little or when you have too much asymmetry. And so what offset loading will do is when you have too much asymmetry and you don't even know it because no one's measuring for that, it'll create injury over time. And so it's an amazing technique that I still am dumbfounded how it has not been utilized more. And obviously the reason is because there's not enough science, which we started. We were the first to begin a study on the bench press. Ever since we did that study and was published in 2022, there's been numerous now studies that have cited us and have continued to do studies on athletes. So,
yeah.
Sure. Something to also, because people listening to this might be thinking, okay, well, why not just do an exercise protocol that involves working one side to have the weaker side catch up? It's actually very different. That's unilateral training versus bilateral training. Unilateral training is great, doing like a single leg squat, doing a single arm bench press, but it's not nearly as challenging to the nervous system and that sensory motor integration that we've been talking about. It's not nearly as challenging because it's one thing to have all of your neural drive going to one side of the body where you don't have to calibrate like, oh, I have to have 50% or 40% going to this side, but 60% going here. And I have to make sure that's happening constantly in a very precise manner. When you know, hey, 0% going to this side, 100% of my drive going to this side, it doesn't take that much cognitive effort to make that happen. Now, from a structural standpoint of maybe getting a smaller muscle that because it atrophied from being in a cast, sure. Unilateral training or single side training, fine. But if we're talking about getting the nervous system to become neuromuscularly efficient on both sides equally, then offset training is where it's at, because a lot of weaknesses in athletes aren't necessarily structural. They're neurological, neuromotory, and related to that sensory motor integration components, which offset training
understood. Let me ask you a question. In order to proliferate this, I think, at least from my humble experiences, is there a certification in offset training?
Well, that is what we would be doing because
I think if you got to educate the market on the strength training side, and then kind of lead with that. Maybe whatever equipment they have, or dumbbells or whatever. Like here's like the rudimentary, and then you launch the the equipment.
Well, we want to attack both. We want to try to attack both as we're developing the prototypes. We are also developing the protocols, and so each one is sort of like there won't be a lag either way. Once we enter the market with the methodology, that the equipment will come right after, so to speak.
And how much do you think this piece of equipment is going to run?
Well, to develop the prototypes, Mohammed has feasibility study. He would develop 3 prototypes. Each prototype would do anywhere between 10 to 12 different exercises. Would run about $300,000 to develop the.
No. I mean, how much? Like, once it's commercialized, is this like a $5,000 machine, $10,000?
You know what? We have not yet gone there, so to speak, because we want to develop the prototypes. We want to take one prototype, stick it at the University of Houston, one prototype in Dr. Joe's facility, and one prototype in maybe a gym, so to speak.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I think what TRX did as a an indicator of getting people to use those straps, having like a I think it's like $300 to get certified in TRX. I could see this grassroots offset loading as like a certificate that personal trainers could say, yeah, I'm certified in this. That would be super interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And when you think about it, at the end of the day, it's almost like trying to tell the strength and conditioning world that the earth is not flat, it's round. So when you're training in a symmetrical way, to live, work, and play in an asymmetrical world. It just doesn't make any sense. And so we're trying to, when you do offset loading, any exercise, you're converting that from a 2D exercise to a 3D exercise, because now you're introducing stabilizing muscle groups. And so those are the things that make you work better, live better, play better in sport, because now you're working with all of the different forces out of you that are coming out. And every time you wake up every morning, conditions are different. We live in a universe that everything is never the same. Everything is in motion. So we need to be we need to be dynamic in our approach to training.
Yeah, well, I used to run a software company that became a tax write-off, trying to sell personal training platforms to personal trainers. And I wanted them to use these templated workout programs, which they wanted to customize on their own. So like convincing them that offset loading is the way to go is like, if they could create more revenue and get better clients and results, that to me seems like a pretty strong path to go down. So,
yeah, well, the results, Dr. Joe will mention, when you do offset loading versus traditional, the results are immediate. You feel it immediately, right, Dr. Joe?
Sal, I want you on the infomercial doing the offset loading in Midtown, like in the middle of like Central Park. We're gonna like have you sitting there like this.
Yeah. No, but you do have to feel it. Once people feel it, it's you look at it and you're like, oh, this doesn't look so bad. I've taken some of the strongest athletes you'll ever see. Put 30 pounds on one side of the bar, nothing on the other side. It almost flips them off the bench.
Yeah. No, I could definitely appreciate how your brain is like a big.
It's a mind trip.
It is a mind trip.
Neuromuscular mind trip is what it is. Like you're like, whoa, what just happened? It feels like somebody kind of played a little magic trick on your brain. It's wild. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, so look, we're going to get this podcast out. It's going to go out to everybody in the health club, fitness boutique studios, venture capital firms as well. So when you get the deck together and the prototype, we could get this out to specific VCs and family offices and so on and so forth. So sounds like you guys are on to something super interesting and a big opportunity. I would just say, this industry is not the easiest when it comes to fast education of people that are, actually training, and they've all got their, belief system. Dave Ganelin was hawking around kettlebells for 20 years around New York City, kettlebell concepts and training. So I guess, Dave, you could probably appreciate educating the market on this. You're on mute right now. I don't know if he's happy about me you're on mute. I don't know if you're happy about me bringing up kettlebell concepts. Yeah, you're over that? All right, cool.
No, we talked about it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
Good. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Look forward to meeting you guys in person if we can be helpful as you roll this out. Love to see this thing come to fruition.
Thank you very much for having us.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. All right,
man. Good to meet you guys.
Take care.
Father. Later.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks, your captain speaking. I am the founder and managing partner at Integrity Square. We've been around now for 15.5 years. We have been helping people like yourselves get capital, do mergers and acquisitions, consulting, strategic advice in the health, active lifestyle, and outdoor Halo sector, trying to help as many entrepreneurs as possible get to the next level and take that inflection point and be the force behind your growth. We are helping companies that have at least $3 million of EBITDA, around $10 million of revenue, and we are positioned to help you get institutional growth capital or to negotiate deals with strategic partners. If you go to integritysq.com/ISQ, you can see our capabilities deck. Happy to set up a consultation at any time. That is free of charge, and we look forward to helping solve obesity, loneliness, and diabetes. Go Halo.